just tell us about how music started for you, you know, how far back can you remember and how you got into music?
My music, I think for me, the first memories I have of music was at the age of like 2, to be honest. I think I had a fascination with the record player, and I always used to be at home and be messing about with it, you know. Back then it was a gramophone, you know, you used to pile the records up, and so basically you created your own like little playlist, and then you just press this button and it would do your thing automatically. So you know, that was the thing back then. And then I think at the age of might have been 4, 5, around them times, 6, I used to entertain my mum and her friends when she had her little parties and stuff like that at that age. And from there, every birthday and Christmas, what I'd ask for was records or money for records, you know, and record sleeves, and people bought those for me readily. I didn't even need to ask, you know, I'd get record sleeves, or I'd get money, or I'd get records. At that time as well, you know, my auntie used to buy, she used to buy a lot of reggae, but she used to buy Motown. And then my granddad's, in my granddad's house, it was more reggae. You know, I had my uncles, Stuart, who was into music, and Tommy, God rest his soul, used to like buy Big Youth and Dillinger and all that kind of stuff. So, and then there was other members of the family who bought different, so everywhere I went and stayed, you know, as a kid, you stay at your family's homes, that there was different styles of music played in different households. So I always grew up listening to anything from pop music to, you know, your reggae, and your dub, your Rastafari style, because, you know, that kind of rootsy kind of style was more popular in the 70s, and that was growing at all points of time. You know, at 7 or 8, I remember, I can't remember the name of the record shop, but a record shop opened on Burner Street, and in there, the guys that used to run the record shop at that time was, I think, if I remember rightly, Top Cat, who was a sound man, white guy, very, very into his music, and my relationship with him didn't grow until later on. But I did have a relationship with Colin Roadnight, who actually was in the shop quite a lot, and I used to go to school with his sister, so I know his family pretty well. I used to go around to his house, and his collection was massive. It was very, very big collection. I had my little 50p a week to go and spend on something, you know. So normally I would buy, it'd be more reggae that I bought at those times, you know. People, you know, Bob Marley's stuff was on 7 inches coming through the country, and, you know, popular stuff like Tears on My Pillow by Johnny Nash. Johnny Nash was like kind of really popular at that point as well, Ken Booth, and a lot of other people like that, you know. And from there, I went through school. I went to Make Boys. I only went to Make Boys for 6 months, and then my people moved to Rushmede in '76. And in '76, I still used to go to Highfields. I used to go to Highfields quite a lot, walking it. I used to walk to Highfields because most of my friends were there. And I used to go to a youth club at Highfields Community Centre. And I think that's when I really did start to kind of have a real interest in music, because I took the bass box. It was an all-in-one box or a bass box or something, and they had a double deck there. And I used to buy my 1 and 2 tunes, because I never had really money to buy records then. I think I used to get music from Bertie, who used to run a sound system. Can't remember the name of his sound, he's going to cuss me for that as well. He used to sell music, you know, and I used to go to the youth club on a Tuesday and a Thursday, you know. At that point as well, Assassin was kicking, Ernest Payne. You know, he's another person who I had a really good relationship with, as in music terms. He wasn't just your typical Leicester DJ because he used to go to London a lot. So his way of playing wasn't a Leicester way of playing. His way was very mixed. You know, he played soul, but he played more lovers rock. A lot of people that were playing sound system at the time were playing more roots type music, rockers, what we used to call jumpers at that point as well. You know, people used to jump up and skank and do a whole heap of things, you know. And I used to play on the third. I used to drag the box up a spiraled staircase. I don't know how I did it, but I used to do it near enough every week. And when I stopped doing that, I was listening to Hurdle, and I started to go to Hurdle's shop. You know, I was listening to him on BBC Radio Leicester, and I actually started to go to the shop on a regular basis, and I met Skully. That's where I met Skully. Skully was actually one of the people behind the counter serving at the time, and I used to go to the record shop quite regularly. And my relationship with Skully then grew. At that point, I had a friendship with Maka, who I used to go to school with, you know, and me and Maka, even at school, used to kind of talk a little bit, you know. So Maka used to live not too far from me, so now and again I'd go around to Maka's, and he used to, I suppose he had a preamp and stuff, and he used to play music in his shed. And Maka's always known to love his bass, so he used to go into the shed because his mum couldn't take the noise in the house. He used to go in the shed and go and turn up his music and whatever not, and we built a relationship through there. I think it was in the 70s that I first went to Hurdle White Shop, and that's where I met Skully. And I'd known Maka. I found out that Skully knew Maka, and I don't know how I got involved with Tappy, aka Attraction B, but it all seemed to kind of, me, Maka and Tappy used to kind of hang out as a bunch, and we didn't really know Skully at that point. I think Maka knew Skully and whatever, and then we joined up with Skully. To cut a long story short, Hurdle and us had a conversation, and he says, "You lot are good guys, he's a good guy, why don't you all join up together," kind of thing. And so we did that, and for quite a few years we developed that.
When did you set up the sound with Skully?
Well, Skully's sound was basically already set up, so it was about us really just joining with Skully. I used to sing and MC. Maka was an MC. Tappy used to MC a bit, but Tappy used to like to mess about with the kind of sound system. And Maka was a selector. I used to buy music, so that was always in my head to kind of select, but Skully was the main man. He was a selector as well, so there was basically 3 mic man, and Skully actually, so there was 4 mic man, 3 selectors, really, and a couple of operators, which a sound system normally has. This is how your nowadays sound system is run. It's based off of what we used to do, or what sound systems used to do. I was going into town way before 96, going to Bailey's and thingy. So in between doing Skully and all of that, I was still going into town and listening to different types of music. So that's where I met Fisher. Actually, Fisher used to be the DJ at Freewheeler down on the bottom of Churchgate in the 70s, and I used to go and listen to him, not every week, but the weeks that I sneaked out of my house to go and listen to music, I would always go and listen to Fisher, and then leave from town and go to the Blues, where I met, or listened to and met Mr. Blues and my good friend Magpie that used to do blues. So I never used to get home until 7 o'clock from an early age, 13, I was doing that from 13, 14 years old. That's how music kind of grabbed me kind of thing. Anyway, 86, I kind of left the sound system. I didn't really do anything. I think by then Spectrum was kind of doing things at that point. I think the council had gave them some money or something and they started that place. And things used to kind of go on there. There was a lot of like reggae dudes used to go on there. And
what other places was it, like Spectrum?
at that point, in the 80s, it was Spectrum. There wasn't really a place where there would be a lot of black people congregate, or not, I'd say much black people, but I'd say people that like underground music. If you like underground music at that point, I think town was still a bit wary of letting the underground in. It wasn't until maybe the 90s that it actually started to kind of level down. It was always pop music was supposed to be in town, and really and truly that's how they really wanted that to stay. So Spectrum was like Luca was another place that Luca used to kick at that point. Yes, it was basically Luca, Highfields Workshop and Spectrum. Yeah, so you had Highfields Workshop, and then I think Luca opened. That's when that's where I did most of my stuff with Skully. They used to have dues at the Leicester Uni and stuff like that. 1 and 2 things are going on like that. Some major sound systems pass through there. And I think it was basically those 3 places. But Spectrum, I think, Highfields Workshop was one of I'd say the starters of it, reggae-wise. Urban music really did start to move into town, I think. Flash Harris used to do something, and I think it was Simon Harris who, I got to tell you the story. Simon Harris was always known as a kind of a bad boy around town, and one day somebody says, "Oh, Simon Harris is looking for you," and I dodged this guy for months. I'm not even joking how much I dodged this guy for months, yeah. And when he did catch up with me, he says, "Oh, I'd like you to DJ for me." And I went, "DJ for you?" And he went, "Yeah, I've got a session going on," and did it with Classic Groove. My relationship with Classic Groove started from the Spectrum days. And they used to hold what we call like a kind of warehouse party. At that point, Classic Groove played, I'd say, mid-tempo soul, two-step soul, but they always used to play house. So the house influence has been around from around 85, 86. It was the 90s I got involved with sneakers, and that was through having dealings with Fresh FM, because Fresh FM, sneakers was, I think, open possibly 89, well, maybe before 89. That was a kind of end of the 80s that sneakers opened, and Fresh FM at that point started around 1990. And then Fresh FM started from the sneakers days. How I got working in sneakers was basically through doing Fresh FM. And obviously my history in music, I was always drawn to record shops. And that was one of the record shops that I was drawn to. I used to buy music from there first. And my relationship grew with Idris Hassan, who ran the shop, and Attraction B was working in there, and then he left and I started working there through the 90s. And then that was in the Silver Arcade, and they moved operations to one building, which was 5HQ. Brannigan's started because I wasn't really playing out as such. I wasn't in Skully. I wasn't really running my sound system, because I used to run a sound system as well called Virgo Mix. That was going from the 80s coming through to the 90s. After I left Skully, I built that little set, and I used to do, actually, I did say that I really didn't do anything, but I did, actually, to be honest. So from 86, I built myself a little sound system for parties and stuff like that, and I called it Virgo Mix. And Virgo Mix ran from 86 to 90 something. I think it would have been 94. And I think then that's when the clubs really did start to accept R&B. Not so much reggae, but R&B. You know, we used to put the reggae in there, bill it as an R&B do, but play the reggae as well. At the time, my brother, Simon Schoolboy Phillips, was the kicking R&B DJ around. So I went to Brannigan's, and I knew Wayne Springer, who used to live in my area in Rushmead. Wayne went to private school, but in the holidays we all used to hang out together. And I went to Wayne and said, look, you know, I ain't got nowhere to play. You know, is there anything that you can actually do for me? So he says, we'll see how it goes, kind of thing. So I booked a date. I think it was July fortnight, 1993, if I remember rightly. On the bill, Schoolboy, Master Scratch from Nottingham, and myself. And that's how Brannigan started, really. Simon was doing the under-18s do, because before it was called Brannigan's, I think it was called Gatsby's, I think it was called. And Simon used to do the under-18s night for them. So it's not like they didn't know who Simon was, they didn't know who I was and what I did, but they knew who Simon was. So we put that session on, 300 for the first one that we put on. And the bar manager, Terry, was amazed at people used to drop the drum beat at the beginning of the tune, and the whole crowd used to go up. And he come to me at the end and he says, what was that? That just happened. That was amazing. You know, that was an amazing thing. And from there, it was every bank holiday that we used to do Brannigan's. And then Simon got a job on Choice. So it was Simon that was supposed to have the Thursday night. The Thursday night was billed for Simon, but Simon had to go to Birmingham, so I got the job at Brannigan's. Every week Thursday, student night, it started with 250 people. There used to be a guy called Tony from Derby, who was a very popular DJ at the time, used to do every Thursday night. And we got it after a while when that went from its peak and it dropped off, and they decided to change the DJ. I got in there. You know, as I said, it was Simon that was supposed to be doing Brannigan's. I think Simon did 1 week or a couple of weeks, and then he had to make a decision whether to go to Birmingham and chase his dream or stay at Brannigan's, and he went, and I got the job. You know, and that lasted until 2001. I was on Demon FM for 5 years. On there I won Best Presented Show and Best Specialist Show. I think that was 2002. 2001 I think I won Best Show. 2001 I think it was on Demon FM. Takeover Radio Now wasn't what it was. It was an RSL station for a while, and there was a advert in the paper which somebody actually gave to me and said, you know, you need to, why don't you apply for it? And I got on there for a little while before they changed to doing young people's radio. Last 10 years, doing the radio, I got a DJ job. I'd never shown anybody how to DJ before. I'd learned basically by watching DJs over the years do their thing and asking them the questions, and I bought 2 turntables and did most of my practicing at home. And Steve Antonio, God rest his soul, said to me, can you do a DJ workshop? And I said to him, well, I've never taught anybody to DJ before. And he just said to me, you're a DJ, aren't you? You can mix, can't you? You can do whatever. So I'm sure you can get through this. So I did a 6-week DJ course with 6 excluded kids from Winstanley School in Braunston, because it was Braunston Radio that I was on at the time. And from there, I got into youth work. So that's what I've been doing since Brannigan shut in 2001. I started doing youth work, but Brannigan's did reopen again as After Dark, and I did 3-4 more years in that building doing After Dark, which was more, it was R&B and reggae dancehall type thing for a Saturday night, you know, every week Saturday night, which kind of went down all right for a while, and then that tailed off.